They came seeking a simple mountain and found a hidden giant rising through mist and myth where no climber had ever set foot.
It's 2:20 a.m. I'm still buried in the Himalayan Club Journals, century-old field notes from the Himalayas. It's like diving deep into the documented history of the Himalayas from the early 1900s. The journals cover everything, from indigenous wisdom, cultural myths, to epic expeditions and groundbreaking discoveries. These forgotten stories are brought to life by synthetic voices in the Himalayan Journals podcast. Subscribe, zone out, binge, and pass it to a fellow mountain junkie.
What is it like to stand on the hidden southern face of Kolahoi, a peak that rises to 17,799 feet above the valleys of Kashmir? In the summer of 1935, John Hunt and Brotherhood set out to discover for themselves, with little knowledge of the mountain's past climbs and only a hint from local advice. Their journey would take them through valleys, over ridges, across glaciers, and finally up a bold new route on the south face. After their return from Peak 36 in the Karakoram, Hunt and Brotherhood left Humpet in the Bat Col and crossed into the East Litter by the Gulal Gully. They reached Palgam on the 9th of July with only a vague plan of attempting Kolahoi. James Waller had once spoken of its faces, but neither of them had seen it. A local coolie told them the mountain had only been approached by the glacier on its north side. He suggested they would do well to approach from a southern nullah marked on the map as flowing into the West Litter at Arau. That hint was enough. On the 11th of July, they camped in the Armayun Nar at about 10,300 feet, near the shepherd huts of Armayun. Brotherhood climbed the southern slopes of the valley towards Korapathar to gain a view. He returned convinced the mountain was a cow peak, little more than an unimpressive rise. It was a mistake, for what he had seen was not Kolahoi, but a lesser ridge to the south. The next morning, at 5 o'clock, they set out with their Darjeeling porter, Paulton, carrying sleeping bags. They climbed steep grass and snow beds, reaching a high point by 8:30. From there, the truth was revealed. Kolahoi stood some 2.5 miles to the north, separated by another ridge. Their viewpoint, around 15,500 feet, was on the west edge of a plateau, drained by the Musa Sab and Kabra Glacier. On the left, the cliffs dropped into the cirque of Qatar Nag, while far in the distance the early light allowed a glimpse of Nanga Parbat. Keeping west of the plateau, they moved north towards a col between Buttress Peak and Bertalau. They reached it at 10:45, rested for food, and studied their route. Across the head of the main Kolahoi Glacier rose the south face. It looked steeper than expected, but promising. At 11:30, anticipating a bivouac, they left their sleeping bags on the col, sent Paulton down to Armayun, and crossed the glacier. Their aim was a strong rib that rose continuously from the base of the face to just below the summit, forming the western edge of a snow couloir. The first 500 feet of the rib were steep, broken rock. They climbed unroped, keeping close, careful of loose stones. Higher up, Brotherhood found himself blocked by a smooth, holdless slab and was forced into the couloir. Hunt managed to continue along the crest and soon signaled that they should rope. On a patch of snow they tied in, using 200 feet of line. Above, the rock improved. They climbed firm pitches to a broad snow band that ran across the face. Direct progress was barred by a wall of vertical rock. Skirting west along the snow, they gained excellent steep but secure rock by straddling up projecting block. By now, monsoon clouds had gathered, shutting out the view. They pressed on, regaining the rib above the obstacle. Soon they reached the final steep snow slope beneath the summit. Cutting steps in good snow, they gained the east ridge exactly at its rise to the top cone. It was 2:30. From glacier to summit, they had taken hours, a steady climb of 7,500 feet since morning. The mist allowed only a glimpse down the north face and a faint view along the ridge. For descent, they chose the east ridge. Their upward route was poor for belays, and fatigue made them cautious. They moved carefully until at mid-ridge they found a subsidiary rib that dropped directly to the south face glacier. They followed this, reaching the ice at 5:45. The descent of 3.5 hours spoke of their exhaustion more than of difficulty. By 6, they were back at the col, revived by food, and then hurried down to Armion, 5,000 feet below, arriving at 8 in the evening. The climb presented no unusual technical difficulties, yet the long ascent and descent of 7,500 feet each across 5 miles of distance was a heavy undertaking for one day. Hunt would later write that the route through the Armion Nar was short and attractive, though most parties would be wiser to bivouac near the col. Their success marked a new line on the mountain, adding to the record of Kolahoi, since Dr. Ernest Nave and his companion first climbed it in June 1912. Between the years of that first ascent in 1935, the history of Kolahoi was still uncertain, but the southern face had now been climbed, and the mountain, once thought a cow peak, had revealed its true character.